Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're at the start of another weekly reading vlog, and this week I am letting a spinner wheel choose what I read. So if you saw last week's video, you'd know I kind of struggled quite a lot with Get a Clue, which is hosted by Rainy. I am one of the co-hosts. My team is Miss Peacock. It is a month-long competitive readathon that is based on the game Clue, or Cluedo if you're in the UK. I really love the concept of this. Unfortunately, something I realised about myself is I am not a competitive readathon girly. So I have swapped from being a senior detective, where you had to wait for a certain time to be able to go into the room. So the idea of Cluedo is you go into different rooms on the board game to be able to question people to get clues to solve the murder. In this, we are waiting for the rooms to open. We're all entering into the same room, and to be able to succeed and get your clue from the room, you have to read a book that matches the room prompt, which is all perfect. I love it. The only thing that I'm struggling with is that it's time-based, and so because there are 9 rooms in the month of February, like, they're dropping quite quickly. Going to junior detective mode makes my life a lot easier because you no longer have that time constraint. You don't use the prompts, you don't get the extra bonus points of things because you're now just being able to read at your own leisure. I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining all this, so I'm really sorry if it sounds really complicated. It's actually really quite easy, but something that Rainy has done is for those amazing people that can go into a room, get the room prompt, read the book and get it done before the next room is open, she has a spinner wheel so that you can spin to get a random prompt for you to then use that for your next book. So I figured for this week, to choose what I'm reading, I'm going to spin the wheel that Rainy created. Now, I don't get the extra points that come with it. It's literally just helping me choose what book I'm reading and just to have a bit of fun with it, because I did actually really want to do the spinner wheel at least once. That does mean I don't know what I'm reading for this week. So I'm going to screen record the spinner wheel and we're going to see what it gives us. Let's click to spin. I'm intrigued to see what we're gonna get. I actually don't know. There are so many different prompts on here. Ooh, let's see. Oh, okay. So we have TBR veteran, which if you were doing this as part of the senior detective, you would get 10 bonus points on top of your page count, which is really awesome. I don't get any of those points. I will just get the points for whatever I choose. We have a TBR veteran. I actually don't know what to choose. Wait a minute, I have an idea, because I still kind of want to do a murder mystery, and there is one murder mystery that's been on my winter TBR that I've been meaning to read for a while. Is it a TBR veteran though? I mean, I guess TBR veteran is subjective to you as an individual as to what a TBR veteran is. Like, some people might have books that they've had on their TBRs for 3-4 plus years. This one isn't that old, but I've been wanting to read it because it's one that got sent to me a while ago now, maybe even 9 months ago. So I'm gonna go and say that this is a TBR. I mean, to be fair, like I said, it's not like I'm getting the points for that prompt anyway. It was just to help me choose. So I'm gonna go with this. So it's a murder mystery. It's called The Cabaret Macabre, and this is by Tom Mead. This one was actually sent to me by the author. I've been meaning to read it for absolutely ages. I kept putting it onto TBRs, thinking, oh, I'm gonna read it this month, never getting it read. I actually got a lovely little note from the author as well, which I'm really excited about. Like, genuinely, this was lovely of them. And I got this like when it was first being published, so it was published in 2024, but this is one that I've been meaning to read for ages, and I know if I don't read it now, it probably will become a TBR veteran, but I really want to read it because I think I'm gonna love it. So this one is set in Hampshire, 1938, and we're following sleuth and illusionist Joseph Spector, who investigates his most complex case yet in this gripping locked room murder mystery set in an English country house just before the Second World War. So I feel like combined with the setting, it's still murder mystery, which I would do want for Get a Clue. Like, I decided, I honestly, I was thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I was like, there's series I could continue on with, there's a couple books I got really recently that are on my mind, but actually going with a murder mystery is really good. Let me see if I've got another murder mystery on my TBR that's older than this one that I'm in the mood for. If not, we're gonna go with this one. By the way, I mean older on my TBR, not older in publishing date, because there's loads of those. Now, I think, honestly, a lot of my murder mysteries are actually newer on my TBR because I went through a phase of, well, purchasing a lot of cozy murder mysteries because, well, I love them. I think the only other one would be The Cat, the Corpse in the Old Barn, because this is a book I actually picked up around the same time as I got sent this, but I'm more in the mood for this than this one. You know, I think this one will be fine and I will get to it eventually. Like, it was at a free little library, but I'm actually more in the mood for it. Plus, look, it matches the outfit. It was clearly meant to be. We're gonna go with this one. Mainly this month I wanted it to be a murder mystery reader month, and we have succeeded in that. With last week we read 2 murder mysteries inside one vlog, which was impressive. I absolutely loved it. It was part of the Veronica Speedwell series. And now this week we're gonna go with more of a golden age inspired one, which this is an author that Leandra absolutely loves, and Leandra is kind of like the queen of golden age mysteries here on YouTube. She has read so many. When Leandra says that this author is good and does good like homage to the golden age mysteries, I trust her in that, so I'm really excited for this. And I know this one's actually 3rd book in a series. I think I can read it out of order. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, and so it will be nice to know that if I like this I can get the other 2, which is really good. So yeah, okay, we're gonna go with this one. I'm actually didn't expect this, but I'm really happy with this, so that is amazing. You'll have to let me know if you've read any Tom Mead books and what you thought, and also what do you think a TBR veteran is? Do you think it is a book that's been on your shelves like the longest, or is it more of just like, if I was to choose my genre of murder mystery, this would be one of the oldest books on there. It's not the oldest books on my whole TBR shelves, but it's definitely one of the oldest in terms of how long it's been sat on my shelf for a murder mystery, and so I think that works for TBR veteran. You have to tell me, do you think I'm stretching it a bit too far there? Would you have counted this as a TBR veteran? I'd be really intrigued to know. Again, I'm only counting the page count, so my team is going to get an extra 287 points for finishing this book, which is lovely. I'm very happy with that. I don't think I'm even going to be starting this today though, so I'm talking about it all, but my partner is on his way over because it's Saturday, and Saturday is solo leveling day, and so I'm so excited. For those of you that don't know, I have been on a bit of a solo leveling binge at the minute. I have been reading the manhwa. I have been, well, only up to a certain point in the manhwa, but I have been watching all the episodes because season 2 is out and they are doing weekly releases, and they release every Saturday evening. So we've made it a habit for him to come over on a Saturday. We set up the projector and we chill out and we watch solo leveling. So I'm really excited to do that. So I'm probably not even going to start this today, but I wanted to know at least what I'm going to be reading. That is accomplished. We've started the video. I love how this is really matching the vibes. Like, I love this. Okay, I'm gonna stop being silly. I swear, I'm so tired. I finished my early shift and I am so exhausted. We've got this. We're going to watch an episode of Solo Leveling. We're going to start that book. Probably not today, but I will check back in when I have started, my initial thoughts and feelings of it all. I'm really intrigued because I do enjoy murder mysteries a lot, and it would be really nice to be able to have a new author, a new series that I really like, and to see whether I like Joseph Lispector. That will be really interesting to see if I like them as a character, and also to see, can I notice any of the books that they've been inspired by. I will admit, my Golden Age mystery is very limited. I've mainly only read Agatha Christie, so I definitely need to read more. I may not get all the references, probably won't, but it will be really good to read it anyway. And okay, I said I was going to go like 3 minutes ago and I'm still here waffling on. That's nothing new. I hope you're all doing really well. And okay, right, I am actually going to go. I will need to put the oven on. We're going to have some apple crumble while we watch Solo Leveling, and it's going to be divine. I'm so excited. I didn't cook it. I was too tired, so I just went and bought one, but I actually really want to do some baking. I've been really itching to do it, but also after my early shifts I'm so tired that I just don't do it. But I would like to get some done at some point, hopefully. Whether it's going to happen in this weekly reading vlog, I don't know. I don't think so. Anyway, right, I'm still going on. I need a zip. I need a zip over the lips so that we just stop talking and I can just be like, mm-mm. was honestly debating whether to bother updating today because I've barely read anything. I am up to page 24 of this book and it's been like 2 days. Saturday I didn't read any of this book. Instead, as I said, me and my partner, we watched Solo Leveling. It was great. And then yesterday I did plan on, after my bath, settling in with my book and relaxing, except never happened because I was just so tired. Or like, well, it did happen, but like I did not settle in for as long as I thought, and I did not get as much of this read as I'd planned. Like, it just wasn't happening. I was so exhausted and I kept having to reread things to be like, wait, who's this person again? And not because this isn't good or it's not interesting, but just because I was just that tired, unfortunately. Honestly, it was really funny because the same thing happened at the start of last week's vlog, where I'd started reading 2 different books and I got to both pages were like in the early 20s before I stopped. So like last week I did pick up Master Artificer for a tiny bit, like the tiniest bit, then put it down, and then another book that I ended up proper DNFing, that is, again, I only got 22 pages into, and that was all at the start, so I don't know what it is, but so far the month of February seems to be jinxed at the start of vlogs that I'm only going to read 20 odd pages of my book. This is interesting. I am curious to see how all these different things are going to come together, because so far, 24 pages in, we've had, what, 3 different perspectives in this one little bit, which seems like a lot, and it is, but it's also manageable. It also kind of works because within each chapter there's like little sub chapters and it makes it really easy to read. Start off following 2 children. They're off adventuring and they discover this chest, and the girl is like, right, well, we have to open this chest because, you know, what if there's like treasure and stuff in there? Turns out there's no treasure. Instead it is a dead body, and they have to then obviously let the police know. And then the perspective changed and we're following the police when they see this chest and they're like, okay, we're gonna have to find out who this person is. It's this unnamed person that has turned up murdered inside this chest. Clearly murdered. What is going on? The police inspector then gets a visit from this woman who is then telling the inspector, so Inspector Flint, this story about her brother falling in love with this woman, but the woman is a secretary for this important person, Sir Giles. He's like a judge. Then she thinks that Sir Giles killed this lady. Her brother went crazy over it. He's then been put in an asylum, but he's not actually crazy. He was just doing it out of revenge because he loved this woman so much. So like there's this really crazy drama-filled story that's being told, and I'm like, well, how does that link to this dead body in a chest? And now we've changed perspectives to Joseph Spector, our illusionist. He has just been approached to then come and see somebody. Something's going on and he has to go visit them like right now. So I'm really intrigued to see how all these storylines are gonna like mesh up together. I am looking forward to reading more of this one. I do need to do some editing, so I'm gonna do some editing, have some dinner, and then I will sit down and read some of this book, and hopefully we get more than 20 odd pages read. But yeah, I am really enjoying this one so far. I like the setting, I like the writing, it seems really good, so I'm looking forward to reading more of that. This one, I'm actually quite pleased I swapped to Junior Detective, because the next room that's been unlocked is the ballroom. The ballroom is to read an elegant book. Now this could be a beautiful book, so like a special edition book. It could be a plot that is to do with royals or things like that. It could be, what else did Rainey say? It could else be, oh, just beautiful writing. So like Lanny Taylor's writing or something like that. And I'm like, I love all of that, but I am actually in the mood for this, as this book would not fit for that prompt at all. Like, I can't say that this cover is an elegant cover. I can't say that we're to do with royals and things. It wouldn't work. So I'm quite pleased that I've changed gears, but that I'm doing the spinner, because I think it still adds an element of fun to this. Give my team my points from reading this. Have fun with having the spinner and still having an element of Rainey's kind of having a hand in what I read, but just at my own pace, which I'm really happy with. Hopefully the next update is me actually having read more, but I do have a single book haul. Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This is a 3rd book in the Emily Wilde series, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy to have my hands on this book. I'm not actually reading this until Saturday, which is going to be the Relax and Readathon, so you will be seeing this vlog before that. So here's a little sneak peek of what I'm going to be reading, which, to be fair, if you saw the announcement video for the Relax and Readathon, you would know what I'm reading anyway. So excited. It's so pretty and gorgeous, and I genuinely cannot wait to read this. I think it's going to be such a brilliant book. Like, oh, I'm so excited. And no, I'm not going to go into this because you're literally going to be seeing the Relax and Readathon a couple days later. I will talk your ear off about Emily Wilde's books then, but I'm so excited. I genuinely cannot wait to read this book, and I think it is such a gorgeous cover, which, to be fair, this is beautiful to me, so I feel like that could work for the elegant prompt. That's it. That's all the updates. I have barely read anything, but I have the new Emily Wilde book and I'm really excited for it. But for now, I'm gonna get some editing done. I'm gonna do another hot drink, do some editing and chill out, and hopefully I'll come on here tomorrow with having read a decent chunk. Do I think I'm gonna get loads and loads read? No, but maybe like 60 pages. 60 pages would be good. And just like sit down and read for an hour and actually like read properly and process what I'm reading. That would be good. But I do love how in this book we have like maps and things. The list of people, we have this like family tree, and then we've got different like floor plans and stuff, which I think is going to come in handy a lot because, again, it's a locked room mystery, so I love it when you get these different maps and things of what's going on. And I like the fact that at the start this is dedicated to current locked room masters, so he's named a few different authors and then also in memory of a couple of others. Okay, right, enough waffling, let's get on with the editing. A little bit more of the Carberry Macabre, nowhere near as much as I wanted, but I realised I'm still in a bit of a reading funk. So at the end of last week's video, I was talking about the fact that I was really close to hitting like a reading slump, a reading burnout, and I'm still a little bit in a funk. Not to the point where I don't want to read, that's not the case at all. It's just I'm finding I can't really concentrate as much on a book as I want, which unfortunately Carberry Macabre is suffering from. Now, I think it's a mixture of things. I think it's my mood, but I also think it's the formatting of this book. Not that it's bad, like I am enjoying it. I'm up to chapter 8, page 91, but I'm finding that I need to sit there and read this book for like 20 minutes at a time. Yesterday, I tried to sit and read for an hour. I'd done all my editing, got myself ready. I just wanted to chill for an hour before bed, reading my book. Couldn't do it. I really couldn't sit there and do it. I managed 20 minutes and then I had to change book. But the day before, I was a bit more busy. I had a lot more editing to do, so I was reading in like short bursts. So I was doing like 15 minutes with dinner, back to my editing. Then I would do like a little editing break, so I'd pick up the book for 10 minutes and do it like that. And that worked really well for this book. So I think it's a mix of the book and also just my mood, because this should be a book that I really like and really get into, but I'm also just wanting things that are cozy and comforting to me. So I'm not really feeling this one because I don't know these characters. They don't feel comforting to me right now. Plus, the style of writing this is, I'm just finding that I will concentrate and focus in on it for a short amount of time and then I'm losing focus. But I don't want to put it down because I am interested in the plot line. So all those little elements, I'm like, there's so many different elements, and there are so many elements to this book. So not only do we have Sir Giles, the judge, and his wife, Joseph Lispector, the illusionist, and then the chief police, and then we've got Caroline. So not only do we have those, we also have Sir Giles and his wife's sons, there are 2 sons, a stepson, and then somebody else, which I'm not going to talk about because it's kind of spoilery. And then we also get interludes. It's a lot. It's great in a way because it's so short. As I mentioned, there are chapters, but there are sub-chapters. And the sub-chapters, honestly, a page, maybe 2, maybe 3 at most, and that's it. And then it's done. So it's good because it's quick to read because of that, but at the same time we're changing perspectives a lot. It's not like we get one chapter dedicated to one perspective and we've just got the sub-chapters within that. Instead, it's you've got a chapter and then sub-chapters are changing perspectives. Not all of them. Sometimes you'll get like 2 sub-chapters that are consistent with the same perspective. It's then like a time change or a location change or something. It just feels a little bit like stop short, like little vignettes that we're getting, rather than a narrative that flows together, which is fine. Like, I don't mind that. I think it's quite interesting. It's not something I've read too much of, and I don't mind it. It makes for a really pacey read. You'll get a piece of information, you're going to want to find out more, you can't because you've swapped perspective, you don't know when you're going to come back to them. Like, it keeps the intrigue up high, it keeps the pacing high, but I can't connect to any of the characters because I'm not with them for long enough. And I think, you know, as we progress, maybe I will connect to the characters, but right now I haven't connected to anyone just yet. I am intrigued to find out what is going on. I am intrigued by the fact that we seem to have like 2 mysteries going on. We've got the initial mystery from years ago where the woman was murdered. That was 10 years ago. Present day, they're going to the country house where this murder that happened 10 years ago took place, where Caroline's brother believed Sir Giles did the murder, stabbed him, and was sent into an asylum. So I think we're going to have the mystery surrounding that, and it seems really weird because Sir Giles' wife suspects Sir Giles, but Sir Giles suspects his wife. So we don't actually know who did the murder. We actually have no clue. Even the people working in the house, so like the housemaid that looks after the house, she was there 10 years ago. We've got Joseph Lispector trying to find out information what happened that night, and she's being really cagey and won't give him any information. And so it's like there's clearly a lot of stuff going on. But then present day, not only are we trying to find out about that like locked room mystery, as it turns out, but we also have present day, someone is threatening the judge, and we've got to find out who is threatening him. And so it is really interesting. I like the fact that we've got these 2 different plot lines going on. I like the fact that they are connected together and we're slowly getting things pieced together, realizing that this family is really awful. I don't think there's a single person in this family that is good, and so I'm enjoying seeing all the drama. Like, there's so much drama, but I am struggling to connect to the characters because point of views that we get, like, it's just so quick and snappy, which is really good for quick reading, really good for high pace, all the things I've already said. Struggling to connect to the characters as a result though. I'm struggling to get into this book fully. Like, I really want to be able to sit down and just read it for an hour, but I just can't. I have decided that I am just going to finish this vlog when I finish this book. Hopefully this doesn't take me too long because this vlog is due out the Wednesday and the Relax and Readathon is due out on the Friday. If I need to swap them around, I will. Like, we'll see. I'm telling you all of this, but realistically you're already seeing this, so you already know what I did. This is going to be my main book. I do want to finish it. I am really intrigued. I just don't know who is behind what. Like, I've got no real theories at all. I feel like a lot of people are being manipulated, but I don't know who the puppet master is, and that is what intrigues me. I kind of think maybe I have one idea, but also could be completely wrong. I feel like the wife has more at play than what is going on, and that is all I'm gonna say. I think this is a really good puzzle mystery. If you want a proper puzzle mystery that you can make notes on, try and solve for yourself, things like that, I think this is really good for it, especially because we get little snippets of information here and there. There's blackmail going on, there is all sorts of different things going on right now. So I am really intrigued by this, and I really do want to know what's going on. I just can't sit there and read this for a long period of time, which is like frustrating. Thankfully, it's a short book, so I actually don't have too long left to go. I've got like 150 or 60 pages. Okay, no, scrap that. It's 190 pages. Again, they're quick, they're easy. You've got parts to this. There's so much. It's so easy to read. So it shouldn't take me long to read, and hopefully the further in I get, the more I'm ready to sit there and just read it and go through. Just at this minute, this starting point, I am actually struggling to read more than 20 pages at a time. I just can't concentrate on it for longer. I find it a bit too stop-startish. Again, that's nothing bad about the book at all. That is just my personal preference and my reading taste. This is more of a mood thing. I think if I was reading this at a different time, I would be so much more invested in it. I don't think I'd be struggling with the writing style of this one. Yesterday, I really did want to read before I went to bed, so I thought, you know what? I know what I'm in the mood for. I want something cozy, comforting. In all honesty, I would love another reread because that always helps, as I mentioned last week's video. However, I did start a book last week, which I have already mentioned in this video, and that's Master Artificer, and this book just feels like cozy comforting fantasy. It is not cozy. Do not take that as like this is a cozy fantasy recommend. It's not. This is dark. It's just, it feels like classic fantasy. And because I reread the first book so recently, like I know the characters, so I feel like this is comforting because I know my characters. It's classic fantasy to me. Like it's got all the classic fantasy tropes. It's doing nothing new so far, but I'm loving it for that. And so I was kind of like, you know what, yeah, I could just like proper zone out to this. And so that's what I did yesterday evening when I tried reading a bit of this, gave up after about 20 minutes, went into Master Artificer, and I read for like just 40 minutes. So I'm now up to chapter 5, page 62, and that's kind of how I wanted to do this book anyway, is reading it slowly over the course of the month, just like in the background, and maybe towards the end of the month focusing in on it and finishing it up. I'm really pleased that I decided to continue this week in the background to this, because I think it pairs up well. This is really good if I've got a spare 10, 15, 20 minutes, sit down, read a bit of this. It works for that. It's intriguing. I want to know what's going on. But when I'm ready to sit down with my hot drink and really just like have a nice reading session, this is the book that I will be gravitating towards, and I like the idea of that. This is the second book in a series. The first one is Master of Sorrows, and we're following Nymph. And Nymph, he was born missing most of one of his arms. Now this is a really bad thing in this fantasy world because there were 3 main gods and goddesses. The fallen god, the one that was disgraced, he lost half of his arm, and so babies that are born with that, they are sentenced to death at birth, and their parents are stoned to death because it is seen as the hand of Chaos, the disgraced god. Also, magic in this world is also seen as terrible crime, punishable by death if people are practicing it. But Nymph is growing up in this little village where these beliefs are really strong in this little village, and Nymph is having to use magic to save his life, to cover up the fact that he's missing half an arm. And so he knows magic can be used for good, but he also is a teenager. He wants to fit in at this village. He's got this crush on this girl, and he really wants to live out his life at this village, become somebody that goes out searching for magic artifacts and bringing them back to what is essentially a school's, like it's like a religious academy type thing almost, where they have a vault with all of these magical artifacts, and to bring them back and keep them there so that they can't be misused. And you have a Nymph that's really conflicted in his beliefs because he's being taught one thing in his lessons, and then his guardian is actually a magic caster and is being taught something completely different. So you see his conflicted feelings. You see him as a teenager trying to fit in. In the first book there are different trials and things, like it's very classic fantasy, but this is a villain's origin story, and I do think Nymph is meant to be the villain, and I love it for that. I'm so intrigued to see how that story is going to progress. This book carries on straight after the events of the first book, but you do get a really nice recap at the start, which I really appreciated. So last week I read the recap, I read the prologue, and I think maybe the first chapter, and that's literally all I did. I didn't read much. I literally got to chapter 2 to page 22, and then last night I read 40 pages. And I'm really pleased that this is going to be in the background. So today my plan is, while I eat dinner, I will read some of this. I've then got some editing to do. I will then go back to this, and then when I'm like, okay, I need a change, I need to go back to my more comfort read, I will then swap to this for maybe like half hour before going to bed. So that's what we're going to do. My main focus is still Carbone Macabre because I am curious. I do really want to read this. No way do I want to DNF this book. I am really curious. I need something that is a bit more comforting to me. And while murder mysteries are, this is just a bit too, all the things I've already mentioned, like I will read a little bit of this. I'm really not expecting to read much of this, especially because tomorrow I think I'm only going to be reading a little bit from this book because my partner's coming around in the evening, so I'll probably only get a tiny bit of reading time anyway. Friday's also a busy day, so I'll probably mainly focus on this book anyway. So I don't think there's going to be much time for me to sit and read Master Artificer apart from a bit more today, but I just want to mention that that is what I'm doing in the background, and this is going to be a book that I do try and read across the month because I am really excited to read this one. Like when it came up on my TBR game, like don't get me wrong, it's not what I wanted to come up for the readathon at all because it is a big chunky fantasy book, but at the same time I'm really wanting to get back into reading my bigger chunky fantasy books because I do enjoy them, and I really got burnt out on fantasy last year, so I kind of just want to have like one on the go, maybe once a month, maybe once every other month, where I can just get back into my chunky fantasy books and also get over that that fear of chunky books, because I used to be a chunky book girly. I used to love them. But doing YouTube and stuff, it really made me go, oh, but I need to read quantity and get videos out to you. And it's like, I don't need to do that. Re-get into the old habits that I used to have when it came to reading, because I think I preferred that. That's the plan. We're going to be focusing on this one. I'm probably going to get more of this read than what I think, because just of how my days are going to be for the next couple of days. But I will also be picking this one up in the background. If I have a longer period of time to sit and read, I will split it between these two books. And I'm really enjoying it. I really just got so caught up in this world last night. I did have to kind of force myself to put it down so I could go to bed. I've waffled on for ages. I actually need to check on my dinner. I'm doing boursin potatoes, which I absolutely love, which if you've got no idea what that is, it is actually going to be in my Battle of the Booktuber vlog. I've decided I want to put it in there because I haven't filmed much b-roll for that, which yes, it's not coming till July, but I'm filming all the like updatey bits now, so having b-roll from summer, it just doesn't feel like that would mesh well, so I'm trying to do b-roll for it now. Basically boursin cheese, potatoes, they're baked together. Like, it is delicious. Probably gonna end up on one of my recipe cards that I do for Patreon. If you're interested, I have a Patreon link below. The first tier gets these newsletters, and every newsletter comes with a recipe card, so I may put it in there for this month, depending on how my baking goes on Saturday for the Relax and Readathon. I really want to bake. I actually want to bake more than just the once on my 5 days off. I really want to bake quite a lot, because it's been ages since I've baked. I say ages, it's been like, okay, 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes, see what my favourite recipe of the month ends up being, but at some point that will be on there. If you just look up Hasselback boursin potatoes, there is a TikTok video where it shows you how they do it, and it is the most simple thing. It's like 4 ingredients and it is delicious. It just takes a little while. I've been talking for 19 minutes and they were in the oven for 20 minutes before that, so it's definitely time to check on those potatoes. Was this a massive tangent about potatoes? Yes, but I love potatoes. They're so versatile. You can do so much with a potato. It probably is my favourite food. I need to go check on dinner. At the end of Carpro Macabre, I've got, I think it's like 70-ish pages to go. I'm up to chapter 15, subchapter 2, page 209. I like it. I think it's interesting. Like I said, like the plot line and that is interesting to me. However, I'm still finding this a little bit too fast-paced for me personally, and I think it's a mixture of things. One, it's very fast-paced, and I tend to prefer my mysteries a little bit slower, a little bit more cozy. This is definitely not a cozy mystery. I'm also, because I'm reading this one when I'm tired a lot of the time, so obviously I've been on my early shifts. Yesterday I wasn't at work, but I had a really busy day. By the time I got a chance to sit down and read, it was late evening and I was getting tired. So I think I've been a bit too tired to read this book, to like focus on everything, because there are so many things going on. Like, we're at the point where after the last update, we had another 3 murders in such short succession. It was mind-boggling. I don't mind that. I think multiple murders and stuff, like, it's fine. It kind of reminds me of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which actually isn't a book I've read, but I've heard so much about it. You kind of know what's going on in that one. But it kind of feels like this. It's almost like a murder will happen, we'll start investigating it, and then something else happens, so then we drop the first one, or like the previous one. So we start off, like I say, in this book where we're meeting all our different characters and the murder that happened 10 years ago, and we're just like, we don't know who's actually done it. We've got people accusing each other of it. It's a whole mess. And then the present day threats on the judge's life. But then we have that impossible murder that happens when we go to this country estate, and it's like the old murder, the investigation into that just kind of gets dropped and it doesn't really get spoken about again, and instead we get this bit where we have like a couple of chapters investigating, well, how did this happen? How could it possibly happen? What's everybody's alibis? Then we have another seemingly impossible murder, and they're like, oh my god, we've got another one. Okay, let's reinvestigate everybody, find out all their alibis for this one. How is it possible? We'll spend a couple chapters talking about it, and then we get another murder, and it's like, okay, well, we've dropped that one. And it's like each individual, it doesn't feel like we ever go back to them. I'm sure we will. I'm sure things start coming together. I mean, we've started to have little bits coming together. Overall, it doesn't feel like we've had any breathing room between any of these murders, and I think that's more just because of how this book is written, because there's so many perspectives, because there's subchapters and we jump around. It's not like the narrative just flows. It's kind of like stop start, as I mentioned already. So I feel like I'm never getting the breathing room between the different things that are happening to actually process what's happened. So I think still my favorite experience of reading this book is when I was breaking it up, when I was only reading 15 pages with dinner, did some editing for an hour, came back to the book for a little bit, did something else for a bit. That was my favourite time reading this, and I think that's what I need to do to give myself processing time. I think I also should have been writing down characters, writing down what's going on, and like having all my notes in a little notebook next to it, I think would have helped me process everything a little bit easier. I do trust that by the end of this book, everything's going to come together, and all the different murders and everything that's going on, the different blackmail and things like this, is all going to come together, and it's going to be this like master puppeteer that's going on. At the same time, I kind of wish it was just a little bit slower. This is a book that I can say I would be interested in reading the first one, which is Death and the Conjurer. I would be interested in reading that first one, especially now I know what to expect from the writing style. I feel like I'd be a lot more prepared. I wouldn't read this when I'm tired. Reading this book has made me realise how much I prefer a cozy murder mystery to something like this. I think if you love murder mysteries, you love puzzles, you want to be able to piece it all together and solve it as you go, this is a really good one for that. Kind of like Richard Osman's books. So you've got the Thursday Murder Club series, which feels a lot more cozy to me, and then you've got the newer series, which is We Solve Murders. And We Solve Murders feels a lot more fast paced. It doesn't feel as cozy. It's not got the same sort of vibes. I feel like this book kind of links into that. Like, I would still continue the series. My personal enjoyment wise, I prefer the cozier stuff. I think that's kind of how I'm feeling about this one. I think it's the same as like the Agatha Christie book. I've read some Hercule Poirot books and I've read Miss Marple books. I prefer Miss Marple because again, it's kind of slower, it's cozier. Hercule Poirot is a bit more fast paced, a bit more going on, and all of this is a bit more flamboyant and things. And I think that's just me as a reader. I prefer it when it's a little bit slower and cozier. And that's the thing. That is not to say this is bad, because I don't think it's bad. I actually think it's very clever. Being able to juggle all the different things that are going on and have so many seemingly impossible murders happening and very unusual things that are going on, and there's a lot of misdirection. There's just a lot. There's a lot going on in this book, and it works to keep you interested. It works for a really fast-paced read. Just not my personal preference. I prefer something that's a little bit slower. Again, not to say that I'm not enjoying this, because I am liking it. I am intrigued. I just prefer, as I meant, just a little bit slower, being able to connect to the characters a little bit more. Like I say, I think I will enjoy reading another book now that I know what to expect. I think I would prefer it a lot more. I think even maybe reading this like a reread eventually at some point, I would prefer it a bit more. I think the timing, what I needed this week was something a little bit more chill, a little bit more relaxed, especially because of the previous week where I was feeling like I was reading so many things and all of that. To then have a book that's really, really fast paced, I feel like was maybe the wrong choice. I'm not finishing this today. It is Saturday. It is time for the Relax and Readathon. I'm so excited for this day. And then tomorrow is going to be more of a editing day. And so I'll plan on finishing this book then. And the idea is I'll probably start my day reading this for like 15-20 minutes. Then I'll go to editing, edit for an hour. After I finish editing for an hour, I will read some more of this and break it up. And by the end of the day, I would have finished this book. And I think, again, I will much prefer that way of reading this book. That is the plan. So I'm definitely going to get this finished tomorrow. And I do think it's all going to come together. I've got no clue who's behind this anymore. I've no idea. I've kind of given up even trying to guess what's going on. I'm just like going along for the ride. It's fun, it's entertaining. I have no idea what's going on. But I did, after the last update that I did sit down and read a little bit more of Master Artificer after reading a little bit of this. So it's been 3 days since I updated, I don't know. But yesterday I read some of this in the evening. The day before that, I really didn't read much at all. I think maybe like 15 pages. And then the day before that, I think I read another like 15-20 pages and then switched to this one, which I've been really enjoying. But I haven't picked this book up in the last few days. So I'm now up to chapter 9, page 89. So I only read like an extra 20-30 pages, I don't know. Love this book so much though. Oh god, it's so good. We've got changes of perspective, which I wasn't expecting. I'm pretty sure the first book, Master Artificer, is just Enev's perspective. And in this one, we're getting a couple of different perspectives and they're so good. It's dark and gritty and I cannot wait to see what's going on. I am just so invested. I'm loving this book so much. I'm kind of tempted because I'm thinking about next week. What am I going to be reading for next week? I do kind of want to do another spinner wheel, but at the same time, I have this book and one other book on my February TBR that I really want to read. So I'm also like, do I just do that? I don't know. Maybe I'll do a spinner wheel and see if it can work for either of the two books, and if it doesn't, then we'll go from there. I don't know. But I'm loving this book. I really want to get this finished across this month, and we're already halfway through, so I do need to get a wiggle on. So I do need a week to just dedicate to reading this because I'm loving it so much. It's so good. I'm liking the fact that we have additional perspectives. I'm liking how dark it's getting. I'm just really intrigued to see where this storyline is going. I think it's really good. It feels cozy because I know the characters. Like that's what I needed this week. So I feel like I should have just read this one this week maybe, but I'm still really pleased that I picked up Carberry Macabre because I do think it is a good book. It's very interesting, and like I say, the plot line to it is so good. Like the plot is plotting. I really like it. It's just the rest of it, the pacing and not being able to connect to the characters as much because it's so fast paced. That's where I'm struggling. But again, that's a me thing, and the time that I'm reading this, I think at a different time I would be loving this book and eating it up. So it's definitely not a fault with the book. So definitely, if you like mysteries, give Tom Mead a try. That's the plan tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to read any more of Master Artificer in this vlog because I do want to focus on finishing out this one. And then next week, I've just got to decide what I'm going to be doing, which I guess you'll see in next week's video. I actually don't know. I still haven't decided. I've got today and tomorrow to think about it. Anyway, right, I'm rambling on because I've got loads of washing up I need to do because I did some baking and I don't want to. I'm procrastinating, but we're going to get it done, and then I'm going to settle in and read my book for the Relax and Readathon, which I'm so excited about, which the next vlog you see will be the Relax and Readathon vlog. I'm so excited for it. I think it's gonna be so lovely. Yeah, did I have anything else I needed to say? Not really. Yesterday went out for a really nice meal with my partner. It was Valentine's Day, but we didn't do it for Valentine's. We don't actually celebrate Valentine's Day. It's just, it happened to be the day off that we both had. So we went out for a nice meal, so that was good. Got some editing done. Yeah, that's it. I haven't done anything like exciting or anything like that this week. It's just been work, edit, read, like that's it. But today is the day where I get to just chill, do all my cozy hobbies, read a book that I've been so excited to read. I feel like today is the reset day that I need for how I've been feeling at the end of January, start of February, and this is going to be the reset to just like get me back in tune with everything. I'm starting to feel better. I'm getting my Relax and Readathon done. Like I have my day to chill, do my cozy hobbies and stuff, and then after that hopefully I'll feel refreshed, revitalized, and we can get through the end of this month. That's how I'm thinking. Hopefully it happens like that. I guess we're gonna find out. I finished it. I'm just gonna say that yeah, everything came together really well, but my previous comment of it really did feel like we were getting a murder and then slowly looking into it and then it being dropped as a new murder and new mystery came up, that feels really true to this because I had forgotten right at the start of this book we found a dead body in a chest. That was the first thing that happened in this book, and I only remembered as I was editing the video this morning because obviously I was reading this in little bits and bobs throughout the day as I've been editing and reading and things like this, and I genuinely had forgotten that had even happened in this book because there's been so much that happened. And yes, it does all tie together and we get an explanation on who did what and how it all happened, and honestly some of it was a little bit convoluted, I'm not gonna lie. Like it makes sense because it was a very intricate plot, and I do appreciate that there was a moment in here just before we started getting all the reveals. Okay, yeah, the last interlude that we get, us as the reader being spoken to, it says wherein the reader's attention is respectfully requested, and it goes on to say there's been no ordinary mystery, there has been more bodies, more clues, more deceptions than even Joseph Spector is used to. And I like that. I like the fact that it is acknowledging that there is a lot going on in here. It also makes me even more intrigued to read the first two books to see what those mysteries are like, because this does seem to be very intricate, and it saying how this is actually more than what Joseph Spector is normally used to is reassuring to me because I did find this a little bit much. I think it was clever. The decisions behind everything was interesting, But in all honesty, I would never have had a chance to solve this one because it was just a bit too complex for me. I think maybe that's just where I'm used to more cozy mysteries. You do have the murder going on, but it's a little bit, all things I've already mentioned, a little bit slower, all of these things. But I just feel like this one, a mixture of me just being tired, but I think in general, I would never have had the answers to what was going on here. Like, it just wouldn't have happened. Like, I thought it was certain things, and then I was like disregarding it because like, oh no, that doesn't really make sense, like, or it does, but all of this is fitting up, like, it's absolutely crazy. How are they actually doing all this stuff? And it turns out it wasn't just one thing, it was multiple things all stacked on top of one another, and that's why it was so confusing, because it wasn't like it was just one thing happening and one reason behind it all. It was lots of different things. So I do think it was well done. I think a lot of people are really going to like this book and enjoy the puzzle of it all, and honestly the absurdity of that ending and how just wild it all got. Like, it was really out there. So I do think a lot of people really like this. I think for me, I actually need to read the first couple and then come back to this one. I think as my first one, it was a lot more intensive than what I was expecting. So I don't want to sound too negative, because I know a lot of this was, I was tired when I was reading a lot of this book. There were lots of things going on, but even on a day where I'm off, I haven't been tired, I've been reading it throughout the day, I can honestly go, I was not expecting any of the stuff that was going on, or like some of it I had thought, but then, like I said, with everything, there was just so much. There was a lot of misdirection. You get a lot of these illusions that Joseph does to make a point about something happening in the plot line, and then we'll come back to it at the end and he'll be like, aha, did you see why that was important? And Inspector Flint's like, dude, no, what the hell? And honestly, I was kind of agreeing with Inspector Flint, like, yeah, what is going on? Why can't you just say it? Like, that doesn't make sense. So I feel like there was a lot of showmanship and stuff, and that, to me, is reminiscent of what I've read of Hercule Poirot and other authors, like even a little bit of Edgar Allan Poe's mysteries, where you had him being very dramatic and over top, the inspector there. So I feel like it's along those sort of veins, which is fine, it's good fun, and a lot of people love it. Not my personal favourite, but that's just me. There was a lot going on in this book. I do think it's well worth a read. I think don't do what I did, start off at the start. This is a good mystery that you can read on its own as a standalone, and I like that. You would get more from it if you start at the start, so that's definitely what I'm going to do. I would love to read the first book in the series and do it that way. Like, I really want to. I think Tom Mead has done was really good, really interesting. I think there's so much potential. I think this probably just wasn't the one to start off with from me, and I think I will probably prefer the first two, going on the basis of this is the most complex puzzle that Joseph Spector has had to solve. You had to plan this out so well for all of the plates that Tom Mead was spinning, so I think it's really impressive that he pulled it all off. You honestly did get all the answers, and in a way that did make sense to everything that was going on, so I really like that and appreciate that. I think that is a sign of good mystery writing. The only thing I do wish we had is that instead of loads of subchapters, we just had more of a continuous flow narrative. I think I would have preferred that, and also it wouldn't have felt so disjointed between the different mysteries and the different murders that were happening. Like, they're all connected. It does feel like we pick them up and put them down and we focus on this one, and you kind of get diverted from what happened here, and it doesn't get mentioned again. So it's like, it feels like they're not really being investigated as fully as everything else. Like, it's a weird one to explain, but only thing that I would change is have it be a little bit more flowy. But it was very clever, very good. I did not guess what was going on. There were points where I was just like, I'm along for the ride, I have no idea what's going on anymore, we're just gonna see what happens. So I do think it was good, and I am interested in reading the rest of the books in this series, which I do think I am going to prefer based on my reading taste. But that brings us to the end, because I haven't read any more of Master Artificer as I thought would happen. I might read a few pages of this evening. I have put a poll up for what book I'm reading for next week's vlog, which will end tomorrow, so I might read a little bit more of this. Ooh, I just flicked and there's like little illustration. Ooh, that's interesting. Tangent aside, I've been loving this book. I didn't read loads of it in this video, but I'm really happy with the little bits that I did read, and yeah, I really cannot wait to continue on with this one, and I think it's going to be a fantastic time. That's going to be, depending on the poll results, it may continue in the background of next week's video, it may be the focus. Who knows? We'll see what the poll says. But yeah, overall, I'm really pleased with this reading week. I'm really intrigued with Tom Mead's other books, and I'm really pleased that this did do what I wanted it to do, which is to set me off on a new series, a new murder mystery series, and also one that isn't cozy, because I am mainly a cozy mystery person. That's my bread and butter. That's what I prefer out of the mystery genre. But I'm really pleased that I've tried this. I just wish I hadn't been so tired when I was reading this one, because I think I would have gotten so much more from it. I still don't think I would have had a clue what was going on, but I think I wouldn't have had such a problem with the pacing and the amount of perspectives, because that is just because I was tired. Anyway, right, I'm just repeating myself at this point. I do apologise. Let me know if you've read any books by Tom Mead and what you think of them, and I'm gonna leave it there. So if you have made it this far and you just don't know what to comment, then let's put a mask emoji. And thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every single one of you that takes the time to watch these videos, whether you just silently watch, whether you comment and interact, or whether you're a Patreon, in which case an extra special thanks to you. I genuinely appreciate all your support. It really does mean a lot to me, so thank you so much. And if you are interested in my Patreon, then that is all linked below. We have exclusive videos, we've got a seasonal reading challenge that's going to be starting soon, you get early access videos and polls and things, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. I'm gonna go, so if you have enjoyed this video, please do consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribing and commenting. Those 3 things really help this channel out. My social media links and my Patreon and anyone I've mentioned will be linked below for you, and I will of course catch you in the very next video.